Hey everyone, this is Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Today I want to show you how to put in some laundry cabinets in your laundry room. Now as you can see here, there's a shelf in the spot where I want to put laundry cabinets. So you'll want to take this out first, and you just want to get a big hammer and knock up underneath the shelf. And then if you can see any screws in the edges, go ahead and unscrew those. The majority of the time though, they're going to use nails in this, so everything should pop up, you know, if you just knock it with a big hammer just along the edges. And then for the back, you may need to get a claw from the hammer and then just peel this off, and usually this is attached with nails also, the trim that goes underneath the shelf. So that would be the first step. And also you want to measure your distance across. So for this area here, it is 66 inches across. And if you go to cabinetry places, they may be able to custom fit something that can fit the full distance. If you want to get prefabs, they come in usually 30 inches, 36 inches. So the sizes will really vary. But for this, it's a little under 66 inches. It's like 65, 65 and a half. So what I ended up doing was getting two 30 inches cabinets that are wide for 30 inches. And then I'll have a couple inches on each side as a gap. So I'll show you how that looks near the end of it. But the first step would be to measure, you know, if you want 30-inch high or 42-inch high cabinets, it's up to you. I'm going to get the 42-inch cabinets, or that's what I purchased. And as you can see here, there is a washing machine door that flips up. So you want to take that into consideration too, as far as your shelving, or as far as your cabinetry, to make sure it goes above where the door is at. Or if you pull your washing machine out far enough, usually cabinetry is about 12 inches deep, 13 inches total. So you could pull these out far enough and then put them at your, say, your kitchen height, which is right around, usually around 54 inches. So, but I want to put them above the door and keep this back. So I'm going to put the cabinetry around 58 or 59 inches right in there. And that would be for the bottom of the cabinetry. Now this is the cabinetry that was purchased. So these are 42 inches high. They're 30 inches wide and about 12 inches deep. So these are going to go side by side. There's two of them here. And these are the two that are going to go up into the laundry room. And there's shelving. They give you 3 shelves. So you're able to put 3 shelves in each one of these. Or 2 shelves. So you have a bottom shelf and then 2 shelves. So you'll have 3 total. Now the shelf came out with a decent sized hammer. So the next step would be to take out the extra trim on the bottom, or the support trim. And usually, like I said, you get a claw hammer and maybe a screwdriver or 2, and you'll be able to take those out. And you may have to do some repainting after this too. Now this next step is to mark your studs. Now you'll want to use your stud finder and just find the center of your studs. Now there's 3 in this wall. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then you have 1 on the end, and then you have 1 on the other end. So you have 5 total. And you want to be really careful, because usually when you have a washer dryer, you're going to have water lines behind this. So I've seen I have pictures of the studs before the drywall was up, so I know that we have some hot water lines here, and then we have some cold water line, one cold water line here. So you'll just want to be careful when you're drilling into the studs that you stay on the stud and don't hit anything off to the left or right, especially when you're drilling into somewhere where you don't know. And then if you hit a metal plate, you'll know that there's something behind there that they want to keep protected. So you'll want to move to a different location to drill into the wall. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a 1x4 down at the bottom here, and that'll be the base of the cabinetry. And then you can also remove it when you're done if you don't like the look of it. But I'm going to use a white 1x4, so it should blend in with the cabinetry, and later on I'll decide whether I want to remove it or not. So what I ended up doing, I ended up cutting this 60 inches long. So I'm going to have the cabinetry side by side. I will have the 30 on this one and then a 30 right next to it. And so all you need really is some kind of base just to hold it long enough until you can put the base or the back plate into the wall. But I want to keep this here permanently. So that's why I went ahead and put 6 screws in this all together. So the next step, if you have another person, would be to go ahead and mark farther up where your studs are at, or if you had a ladder, just mark your studs farther up and then above where the cabinetry is going to be. That way you can sort of line it up visually when you get your cabinetry open or you take your doors off, and that way you can drill and then put your screws into the back of the cabinetry, and that way it'll hold it. So we're going to have a couple screws at the base, and then we'll have a couple screws up at the top, and then if we need, we can always put some in the middle. Just try to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the shelving that's inside. So you'll want to make sure that it's not in that range of where the shelving might be, so it doesn't interfere with it. Now I took the hinges off of these to get them up here, and I'm going to take the hinges off the other one too, but I just wanted to show you with the hinges on, and there's only 3 screws to take the hinges off. So 1, 2, and one up at the top. And so I went ahead and just lined it up with the stud location as far as the screws are concerned. So I just went straight up. Now the drill bit snapped off in this one, so I'm gonna have to fill that in or just leave it. But as you can tell, I just went straight up the line. And then as far as the edge over here, I put in a couple just to hold it. And so if you want, you could also put one over here on this corner, 1 or 2, and they would be toggle screws, or toggle bolts, I guess you call them. And you could just put them anywhere in here, and that would be for drywall. So that's if you don't have anything back here in this corner, you would want to put those toggle bolts if you just want a couple, a little bit extra support in that area. So that was one of them that's been done, and I went ahead and just did a little bit of stucco, or I should say drywall repair on both sides, because it is really hard to get to once you get the cabinet up, because I did this one before or after I got the cabinet up, and then I did the other side before. So you can tell that well, I can tell that it looks a lot better on the side that is done before. So if you have any stucco repair to do, or if you have any drywall repair to do, it is a good idea to do it before you get your cabinetry up and it's, in a location where you can't reach. So just keep that in mind. So for the second cabinet, I do have the studs located here, right in the center. And there is that stud that's right in the center between the 2 cabinets. So I'm going to put a couple screws, like maybe one on the top, one on the bottom, or one on the top, one on the bottom. And then I'm going to put the same thing in the middle. I'll put a couple screws all the way through. And then if I want to put some toggle screws in later, I can do that, or toggle anchors. Now this is the size drill bit that I'm using. It's pretty small, but it's just a little bit smaller than the threads on this screw. So as you can see, this is a 3-inch with a T bolt on the end there. And then I'm using that to screw it in right there. I think it's a T20 is what this is. So that's what I'm using for the cabinetry. As you can see, I moved. It wasn't exactly on center, so the right cabinet is pushed over a little bit. So when I try to hit the stud in here, it's missing it. So what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to throw a couple toggle screws or toggle anchors on this side, and then I'll do 1 or 2 over on this side, and then I'll do 1 or 2 on in the other cabinet. But to tie the 2 cabinets together, what you'll want to do is, these are 2.5-inch screws, and I think they are number 8s or number 10s. And so what I did, I drilled 2 holes, one between the top and the middle hinge, and then the second one between the middle and the bottom hinge. So this hole right here, and you just drill it straight through. Be very careful to go straight through with it. And then all you need to do is just tighten these, all the way down. And then that way, these 2 cabinets will be tied together in the front here. Now, if you have a couple of these cabinet or furniture clamps, you're able to clamp these before you get the second cabinet mounted. And then with the doors off, you're able to put them, like one side goes here, the other side goes into here, on here, and then you just keep squeezing it until you get them together. And then so before the second one is mounted, that way you're able to keep the 2 together while you screw them together, and that way you won't get any kind of separation between the cabinetry. So that is a good idea to do that before you get this second one mounted. But you're going to need help just to keep it up there in position. And if you screw it in all the way, you could probably put 1 or 2 screws in, but if you screw it in all the way, you're not going to have it move, to where you can, or just clamp them and then go ahead and screw them in, and that way they will hold. So either way, as long as you use those furniture clamps to hold these 2 ends of the cabinetry together, you're able to put some screws in, and that way you won't get any separation between the 2 cabinetry. I also wanted to show you a picture of the studs that I took when the house was being built. So as you can see, there is some red and blue PEX lines, so those are both water lines going to the washing machine. And then you have a drain line going between the 2 studs over here, and then you have it's either a 3 or 4 inch exhaust for the dryer you have against the right side of this stud over here. So as I said, there's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're drilling. So you want to know what's behind there, or go away from all these items, and that way you don't hit anything when you're mounting your cabinetry. When you get your cabinetry put together, if you didn't have somebody hold it and clamp these together, or if you didn't do it yourself, what you can do is throw some caulking, and that's what I did. I just threw some caulking in between the two cabinets, so that way that line is not as noticeable. And then also I took some wood filler, the light wood color, and I went ahead and filled in a couple holes where I wasn't able to punch through the wall with the drill bit. And then also I went ahead and filled in a couple areas underneath just to transition a little bit better, and then up at the top too, because they weren't exactly even just because of the way they were built. Now I did get these put in. These are the pull anchors, or the pull toggles, I guess these are called. And these are available at any home improvement store. And what they look like are like this. And you need a 1/2 inch drill bit, and then you bend this over, you push it through, and then I guess the arrow is supposed to go up. So there's an arrow on this piece right here. There's an arrow on that. So that goes up. And so let me demonstrate this real quick for you. And I'll show you how to put the handles on too. I went ahead and did that on one of these. So when you're sure that there's nothing behind a certain area, and what I'm doing is I'm just doing it for extra support, because this is a 42-inch high cabinet. So I want to make sure that there's plenty of anchor spots on the back of the cabinet. So when you have a good spot that you know that there's nothing behind it, you can go ahead and use your 1/2 inch drill bit. And just drill a hole back there. And then you want to flare it a little bit if it's wood. Now if it was just drywall, you wouldn't need to flare it at all. And what I mean by flaring is just pushing it out on each side, just to open it up a little bit more. And then these are for if there's nothing behind it. Now these are for if it's just drywall, which on this side it is. And so this way you can get a better weight rating as far as what you're able to hold on this cabinet. So you go ahead and push it in, and then since it's flared, it should push in pretty easily here. Maybe not that easily, but once you get it mostly against the wall, just pull that as much as you can. So you can tell it's almost flush. And so once it's almost flush, or all the way flush, you just bend the zip tie and it breaks off. Now you can put a washer on it if you want, you don't have to. And it should just screw in. And then as you're tightening it down, it'll pull itself against that back end of the drywall. And I think these are rated, these toggles are rated for 120 pounds of force. So they should hold 120 pounds within the drywall. And so once that one's done, you can put them in any other area. I'm going to put one up at the top corner also, and that way we'll have all 4 corners that are attached. And so this is what I used from the home improvement store. I used a little bit of white wood filler, some white caulking, and then I used some light wood color filler, and that's what I used on the cabinetry. One of the last finishing touches of what you'll want to do for these cabinets is to put pull handles on or buttons on, whatever one you prefer. I wanted to go with pull handles just to keep it consistent throughout the house. So you may need a template, and this is what a template is for your doors. And it's pretty basic. All you need to do is just match it up with whatever hole is for your pull handle. So these are 96 millimeter pull handles. And so 96 is this row here and this row at the bottom. And then you just want to make sure that you'll have enough clearance so that the bottom of the frame of your cabinetry is not interfering with that bottom hole. And the same, I guess, goes with the top hole if you have a center divider in your cabinetry. So a lot of the cabinets will have a divider in the center, depending on how much you pay and the quality and that type of thing. So in this instance, they're 96 millimeter pull handles. So I made a marker dot there and there. And then you just do the same thing on the other side. You just reverse it. And then you make it the same holes in the middle, there and there. And then what I did, you can use a punch, or what I ended up using was a pick, and I just hit it right into the center, pushed it in on every hole. And then you'll want to start with a smaller drill bit. I started with a 1/8 drill bit. And you'll want to drill from the front, because if you drill from the back, you may have it pop out and then it may come apart in the front area here. Now, if it comes apart in the back, it's not going to be that big of a deal. If it comes apart in the front, it will be a big deal. So that's why you want to drill through the front of each of the cabinet doors. And you just want to start with a smaller drill bit. So this is 1/8 drill bit. So you'll just find that mark that you punched. And you can see it went all the way through. And there is a little bit of pieces that push through on that back side. So we can push those away once we pull the drill bit out. And so you just want to start with the smaller drill bit, and then we'll take that out. And then we'll line up that top hole. And then you can put washers on the back side here too, and that will cover up any of those pieces that broke off. So that is an option if you want to do that. And we'll do the same thing on this side. Okay, this next bit is a 3/16. Now you may need to go a little bit smaller depending on the screw size that you have. But for me, it's a 3/16. Do the same thing, just wipe away any excess pieces or extra cuts that are sticking around. And that'll look okay for me. I'm not going to worry about it. But like I said, if you want, you could put a wash around it just to cover up that spot that broke off. If you have any shelf liner, it would be a good idea to put them in the cabinet on top of each of the shelves and at the bottom shelf or the bottom part itself. Now to put in the cabinets, shelving, there are these pins that come included with the cabinetry. And so all you'll want to do is determine what height you want your shelving to be at, and then just push these pins in the corners or the edges here, and just make sure they're all at the same height. And then you'll just move to the other side. And then when you put your shelving in, just make sure that the finished edge is to the outside, and this would be the finished edge right here. And then you can put your liner on top. Well, this has been Mike from Mike's Do It Yourself. Good luck on your next home or automotive project. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you have any questions, just let me know.